Welcome back to The Deep Dive, the show where we take the latest data, cut through all the noise, and really extract the crucial knowledge you need to navigate, well, a pretty complex world. And our focus today is hyper-local and I think high stakes for a lot of people. We're talking about the North Texas real estate market.
This is a deep dive we know a lot of you have been waiting for. The current environment has created this really palpable sense of uncertainty, you know?
Totally.
We've all been living in this state of economic limbo. It's a market that's not exactly booming, but it's not fully correcting either.
Right.
It's what analysts are now, I think, pretty universally calling the soft patch.
Soft patch is polite. I think a lot of people feel like it's a genuine standoff.
Standoff is a good word for it.
Yeah, because on one side you have buyers, right? They've watched their purchasing power just get eroded by these sustained high interest rates.
Right.
They simply cannot afford last year's prices. It's not a choice.
And on the other side?
You've got the sellers, and a lot of them are perfectly happy locked into their little 3% mortgages. They are not willing to transact unless they absolutely have to.
Or unless they get a price that meets their pre-rate hike fantasy.
Exactly, their 2022 price.
And that friction, that inability for prices and rates to really align with what people can actually afford, that's the whole story of November 2025.
It is.
When you have two immovable forces that meet, transactions they slow to a crawl.
So to understand the actual damage, and maybe the resilience too, we are going straight to the source.
Okay.
We're dissecting the latest data from the North Texas Real Estate Information Systems, Inc. That's NTEIS, and it covers everything through November 2025. This isn't punditry, it's the real hard evidence, current as of early December.
And before we get totally focused on Dallas-Fort Worth, we have to set the scene a little bit. We need to contrast what's happening here with the rest of the nation.
Yeah, that's an essential contrast because North Texas is always, it's always moved a little bit differently. Our population growth, the job growth, it's just a different animal.
It is. So nationally, according to the National Association of Realtors, we saw existing home sales tick up just a little bit,
Yeah.
but 1.2% month over month.
Okay, so a tiny bit of good news nationally.
A tiny bit. And that little lift was largely because mortgage rates moderated just for a moment there in the fall.
So that sounds, I don't know, mildly optimistic for the nation, right?
Yeah.
Inventory nationally is rising. It's up about 10.9% year over year.
Yeah.
And the national median existing home price is still climbing. It settled around $415,200, which is a 2.1% annual gain.
So let's just frame that. Nationally, the market seems to be absorbing the rate shock. You've got slightly higher prices, more inventory.
Okay.
But when we look at our region, the entire North Texas region, the picture is almost inverted, almost the complete opposite. While the nation sees prices rise, North Texas is seeing cooling activity across the board compared to last year. Closed sales are down significantly, and crucially, regional median prices are finally starting to meaningfully retreat.
Which suggests that the affordability crisis, amplified by the rates, it's forcing a faster correction here than in a lot of other parts of the country.
Well, that makes sense.
It does, right? I mean, given the explosive appreciation we had for the last 4 years, we just had further to fall.
Or further to correct, maybe?
Further to correct, that's a better way to put it. So let's unpack the hard evidence of this regional cooling trend right now. Let's start with just the sheer volume of transactions.
When you're analyzing a market, you always look at volume first.
Right.
I mean, if the underlying economy is healthy, but the number of sales drops, it points to friction.
And that friction is usually price or cost of borrowing.
Almost always.
And the volume metric for North Texas, well, it tells a very clear story of friction. Regional closed sales for November 2025 hit 7,673.
Okay, and that's an 11.1% contraction compared to November of 2024.
That's a double-digit slide.
A huge slide in the number of successful deals.
So what does that really mean?
It's substantial. It confirms that standoff narrative we were just talking about. It means that nearly 1 in 10 fewer homes are trading hands this year compared to last.
Wow.
It's a clear reduction in market liquidity. Demand is pulling back, or maybe more accurately, sellers are refusing to meet the new, lower prices that buyers need because of financing costs.
And that reduction in momentum, it finally seems to be forcing a pretty significant softening in the actual valuations. regionally, the median sales price, the MSP, it dropped 5.4% year over year.
Okay, so that brings it down to $352,900.
Exactly.
And a 5.4% annual price decline is a serious signal. It's not a blip.
No.
It fundamentally transitions North Texas from, an accelerating growth market to an actively correcting market.
It's not a collapse, but it's the end of the party.
It is the decisive end of the hyper-appreciation cycle. For a seller, a 5.4% drop in median price is a real wake-up call that the peak is firmly in the rearview mirror.
And if we look upstream, sort of at the pipeline of future sales, we see this slowdown everywhere.
Yeah.
New listings. So the homes people decided to put on the market, they declined 4.0%, down to 11,276.
Okay, and pending sales, those are the homes that went under contract but haven't closed yet.
Right, the leading indicator.
That decreased 4.1%, down to 7,634.
So the pipeline is just tightening on both ends.
It is. Fewer homes are coming in and fewer are successfully going out.
What's crucial to me here is that the drop in new listings, that 4%, it's quite a bit less than the drop in closed sales, which was 11.1%.
Yes. And what does that mean?
It means homes are lingering. They're sitting there, which brings us to the time factor.
Days on market.
That lag time is the best indicator of buyer leverage.
Yeah.
The average days on market, or DOM, it increased significantly across the whole region. It jumped 16.7% year over year. We moved from an average of 60 days to close a sale in November 2024 to a full 70 days in November 2025.
70 days. That is a huge psychological threshold.
It feels different, doesn't it?
It feels completely different. Going from 60 to 70 days is a fundamental shift in the pace of the market. It means we are leaving that high-speed, cash-centric sprint phase,
The bidding wars.
all of that, and we're entering a more standard, cautious market cycle.
Let's be really detailed about what those 70 days actually mean for a seller. It's not just sitting idle.
No, not at all.
That 70 days includes the time for the buyer to navigate this complex financing process, for the house to clear the appraisal,
Which is a huge hurdle right now.
and for any repair negotiations after an inspection. That extra 10 days, that 16.7% jump, that's where the real negotiations are happening now.
It is, and it's psychologically exhausting.
Yeah.
70 days means the seller is probably 2 months into keeping the house spotless for weekend showings.
Right. You can't live in your own home.
The emotional fatigue of that longer cycle often compels the seller to finally just accept a price reduction to get it over with.
A high DOM figure is inherently deflationary.
It is. Time itself puts pressure on the asking price.
So the immediate takeaway for buyers is pretty clear. The market is giving you the gift of time. You can do your proper due diligence. You can get inspection contingencies. You can push for price adjustments. These are all things that were basically unthinkable 18 months ago.
Yeah, you would have been laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
This is a buyer's market dynamic that's starting to bleed into what is still fundamentally a low inventory reality.
That's a great way to put it.
And to really understand the severity of this Q4 contraction, we have to connect it back to the year-to-date trends for 2025.
Okay.
Because despite those sharp November drops in volume and price, the long-term economic resilience of North Texas is still visible in those year-to-date figures.
It is. Looking at the full 11 months of 2025, YTD closed sales are actually up slightly by 0.2%. And even more telling, the YTD median sales price is only down a negligible 0.8% overall. It's sitting at $368,850.
So what this YTD data tells us is that the market correction isn't some long-term structural failure.
Right, it's not a crash.
No, it's a recent aggressive deceleration. 2025 started strong. It was riding the momentum from the year before, especially in that spring selling season.
Before the rate hikes really took full effect.
Exactly.
So if the annual average price is relatively flat, down less than a single percentage point, it means that this entire 5.4% median price drop we saw for November was heavily front-loaded into the final quarter of the year. This softness began precisely when that high interest rate volatility met the seasonal winter slowdowns.
So we're not tracking a catastrophic market collapse, which is the big headline fear, right?
Right.
We're tracking a market that hit the economic brakes hard in Q4, particularly across the regional averages.
And that distinction is vital for current property owners. Your overall annual equity is still relatively resilient, even if the value of that equity declined sharply in the last couple of months.
Absolutely.
That context sets the stage. Now, let's focus the lens. Because averages, particularly in a place as big as North Texas, can be incredibly deceiving.
They hide everything.
To really understand where the resilience is, we need to focus on Tarrant County.
Yeah, because if a regional average is seeing 70 days on market and a 5.4% price drop, Tarrant County it's really defying those gravitational forces.
It is.
It truly stands out as a core metro county that is absorbing the national rate shock with far greater stability than its peers.
Okay, but before we start celebrating parents' resilience, we have to look at its sales volume.
Hmm.
Tarrant County's volume contraction was actually a little bit worse than the regional average. Closed sales dropped 14.3% year over year.
So 1,400 homes.
Yeah, compared to the regional 11.1% drop. So my question is, why is a supposedly resilient area seeing a steeper slide in the number of transactions?
That's a critical question.
Uh,
And it really speaks to the nature of the transactions being lost.
okay.
A steeper volume drop suggests fewer sellers need to transact. If a market is in distress, foreclosures, forced selling volume usually holds steady while the prices just plummet.
Got it.
But in Tarrant County, the price data, that's where you see the true measure of resilience. Tarrant's median sales price fell only 4.5%.
Down to $335,000.
Right.
Wait, so the volume drop is steeper, but the price drop is almost a full percentage point less severe than the 5.4% regional average.
Precisely. It confirms that the fewer deals that are closing are maintaining stronger valuations.
So it's quality over quantity.
Absolutely. The market is liquid enough to execute the necessary transactions, but the quality of the asset base and the confidence of the sellers who can wait is preventing that widespread distress selling. The consensus is that Tarrant County property values are remarkably resilient.
And that stability in value has to be linked to the speed of the sale. We know the regional average slowed to 70 days. How fast are homes trading in Tarrant County?
Much faster. Tarrant County homes sold, on average, in 56 days.
56.
Now, this is a 9.8% increase from last year's 51 days, so things have slowed down a bit.
Sure.
But 56 days is still a full 2 weeks faster than that 70-day regional average.
That 56-day cycle, to me, that's the definition of a healthy, normal market pace.
It is.
It allows for due diligence, but it doesn't give buyers infinite leverage. Sellers in Tarrant County still have the advantage of a manageable, fast-moving timeline. They're avoiding that multi-month psychological grind. And we know exactly the underlying factor that provides this structural stability.
Inventory.
It's truly Tarrant County's secret weapon against this rate shock.
The month's supply of inventory held perfectly steady at 3.6 months.
That's a 0.0% change year over year.
Zero change. It's incredible.
A balanced market is what, 6 months of supply?
6 months, yeah.
So at 3.6 months, Tarrant County is operating firmly and stably within strong sellers market territory.
It is. This persistent supply constraint is the physical barrier preventing prices from just falling off a cliff, regardless of how high interest rates climb.
The scarcity premium is real. It's operating in full force here.
And that low inventory translates directly into negotiation power. We can measure that by looking at the final sale price relative to the initial asking price.
Right, the sale-to-list ratio.
Sellers in Tarrant County received, on average, 94.4% of their original list price.
That's impressive. It shows buyers are pushing back a little bit. It's down from 95% last year, but getting 94.4% means sellers are still getting very fair market value.
Assuming they priced it professionally and strategically to begin with.
Right, and it's no longer a market that forgives overpricing.
But it's certainly not a fire sale. The data strongly suggests that if you are a seller in Tarrant County and you price strategically, right at the median, you're going to transact fast and you're going to maintain your value better than most of your regional neighbors.
So where is the demand most aggressive, even within Tarrant County? The Entrice reports give us this great metric called the hotness ratio.
I love this metric.
It's so good. It looks at pending sales as a percentage of active listings, and it tells us which little micro markets are seeing deals happen almost immediately.
And these hotspots confirm that demand hasn't vanished. It's just condensed into the most desirable price-stable areas.
So who's the top performer?
Euless, with an incredible 62.5% hotness ratio.
62.5%. What does that mean in simple terms?
It means for every 4 active listings you see in Euless, 3 of them are already under contract.
Wow. That is an incredibly tight, almost immediate sales environment.
It is.
We are approaching the kind of velocity we haven't seen since the peak of the frenzy a couple of years ago. The buyers are highly motivated there.
Highly motivated. And following Euless are Grapevine, still very active at 39.0%, and Hearst, holding strong at 36.4%.
So for owners in those specific cities, the market dynamics are still intensely favorable.
Very much so.
And this demand, it's not just focused on your traditional single-family home. We noticed a really important structural trend in the data.
Yes. The demand for townhomes.
Right.
This is a distinct signal of buyer adaptation. Townhome sales volume in Tarrant County actually increased by 2% year over year.
So single-family sales are down, but townhomes are up.
Exactly. It led to 44 closed transactions. Now, 44 is a small number, but the fact that this specific segment grew while single-family sales shrank shows a clear structural shift.
Let's dig into that. Why townhomes and why now?
It's a direct consequence of the affordability crisis meeting high rates. Townhomes just offer a more attainable price point.
They're the missing middle housing.
They are. They provide density without the full cost of a detached single-family home. Buyers are doing the math on their monthly payments in this high-rate world, and they're making a conscious trade-off.
They're trading the yard space, the single-family maintenance, for a manageable monthly payment and probably proximity to jobs and amenities.
I think this trend is likely driven by younger demographics, millennials, Gen Z buyers.
Yeah.
They prioritize mobility and location over pure square footage.
And they simply can't stretch their budgets to afford the $335,000 median single-family home in Tarrant County.
Absolutely not. The townhome segment provides a crucial access point for first-time buyers who are income qualified but really price sensitive.
It also kind of points to the broader failure of new single-family construction to keep up with starter home demand, doesn't it?
It does. It's forcing buyers into denser, lower maintenance options just to get a foothold in the market.
And just to ground the conversation on price points, the median price for Fort Worth itself is around $319,000.
Right, which is a bit below the broader Tarrant County median of $335,000.
And that's useful context. It shows that the largest city within the county offers a comparatively more accessible price point than the overall county average, which gets pulled up by higher-end suburbs.
The takeaway from all of this is pretty clear. If you strip away the regional noise, Tarrant County is proving that sustained, hyperlocal inventory scarcity can effectively neutralize a lot of the macroeconomic impact of high interest rates.
Okay, so we've established Tarrant County's strength. Now let's widen the lens again and look at the regional economic indicators that are shaping buyer behavior across all of North Texas. And let's focus specifically on affordability.
Affordability is the central antagonist in this entire story. We measure it using a Housing Affordability Index, or HAI.
And the HAI is basically a calculation that measures whether a household earning the median regional income can qualify for the median-priced home.
Exactly, given the prevailing interest rates.
And the data on the regional HAI offers a really powerful counter-narrative to all the gloom and doom. The North Texas regional HAI increased significantly. It jumped 11.5% in November 2025, rising from 87 last year to 97 this year.
And this rise in the index is a positive development. It's critical for market health. A higher HAI means that, relatively speaking, qualifying for the median home is getting easier.
So how can that be? How is it getting easier with these high interest rates?
Well, it's a combination of two factors, isn't it?
I think so.
The softening median price, down 5.4% regionally to $352,900, that provides a small relief valve.
A little bit of help.
But more importantly, strong regional income growth, fueled by North Texas's continued corporate relocations and robust job market, is helping median household incomes rise fast enough to start compensating for those higher rates.
That's the crux of it. The market is trying to self-correct the affordability problem. While high rates are pushing costs up, the price correction and the income growth are creating a little bit of space for buyers who might have been completely locked out a year ago.
It feels like the market is taking 2 steps back in price, but it's allowing the local economy to take 1 step forward in income.
Yeah, making qualifications substantially more achievable.
So even though the rate environment is punishing, the correction process is slowly and painfully recalibrating the system toward what the local economy can actually sustain. The system is moving closer to a balanced entry point for that median buyer.
And that affordability dynamic is often felt most acutely in the higher price brackets.
Absolutely.
If we connect this improved HAI to the bigger picture and compare Tarrant County's price resilience against its major, often higher-priced neighbors, we see a really clear pattern of price sensitivity emerge.
Let's review those November 2025 median prices across the big 4 counties.
Let's do it.
Starting north, Collin County. It's still the highest priced, with a median of $435,700.
Okay.
And crucially, they saw an 8.3% year-over-year price drop.
Wow, that's a big drop.
And their month supply of inventory is 4.1 months.
Okay, so a little more inventory than Tarrant.
A little more. Denton County is right behind them at a $420,000 median price, but they experienced an even sharper drop, a 9.2% year-over-year price drop.
9.2, so the pain is worse the higher the price goes.
It seems so. They also hold 4.1 months of inventory.
Now compare those steep price drops to Tarrant County, where the median fell only 4.5% at $335,000, and Dallas County, closer in price at $353,500, which saw the smallest drop of the four at only 1.8% year over year.
The key takeaway here is profoundly clear. The highest priced submarkets, Collin and Denton, experienced the most intense price declines.
And that's due to rate amplification, right?
Absolutely. When rates jump, the difference in a monthly payment on a $350,000 house versus a $430,000 house becomes vastly greater.
Right.
The buyer pool for those high-end submarkets either freezes up completely or they demand immediate, deeper discounts to compensate for the cost of borrowing.
It's a vicious cycle for those high-end sellers. If they're relying on move-up buyers, those buyers are trapped by their own low mortgage rates and they're just unwilling to transact.
And that chokes off the high-end demand.
Yeah.
The one buyer they do find demands the steepest concessions.
Exactly. And while Dallas County showed remarkable price stability, down only 1.8% despite having slightly looser inventory at 4.5 months. Tarrant County's ability to hold its price drop to 4.5% while maintaining the tightest inventory, 3.6 months, that's what gives it its structural durability.
It really suggests that Tarrant is dealing with a fundamentally less price-sensitive demand base.
We should probably touch on the commercial market here just for a moment to provide a stark contrast.
Yeah, in the negotiation dynamics.
We're dealing with residential data, which is driven by necessity, shelter, emotional attachment. Commercial transactions, even the limited older data we have from the first half of 2023, show a very different negotiating field.
The primary difference is just the margin. Commercial buyers are investors. They're driven by cap rates and IRR, not by needing a place to live.
So our residential sellers in Tarrant County were getting 94.4% of their list price. What did the older commercial data show?
It showed sold-to-list prices ranging from about 84.9% up to 91.4%.
So that commercial discount margin is significantly larger.
Much larger. It highlights the fundamental difference in market liquidity and expectation. Commercial buyers demand double-digit discounts as a routine part of negotiation.
Whereas residential buyers, even in a soft market like this, still feel compelled to pay close to asking if the inventory is tight enough.
It just reinforces the idea that residential sellers in North Texas, even in November 2025, still wield considerable power relative to other asset classes.
Provided they understand and leverage the inventory dynamic in their specific locale.
That's the key.
We've analyzed the region and the robust core. Now we have to address the fringes. We need to remind you that the North Texas region covers dozens of counties, and the averages we've discussed completely conceal the highly localized, often brutal reality operating outside the major metro centers.
The volatility you see in the peripheral counties is extreme. I mean, it borders on the absurd sometimes.
Yeah.
And this is because these markets are characterized by very low transaction volume. A handful of unique sales, a luxury ranch, a distressed sale, a new development lot can wildly swing the monthly median price.
So for you, the listener, you have to approach these small sample averages with extreme caution. They tell a story of event-driven pricing, not structural change.
Let's start with the spectacular stories. The counties that saw median price gains that just seem to defy all the recessionary pressures we've been talking about.
Go for it.
Top of the list is Coleman County.
Okay.
Coleman County saw its median sales price soar an astonishing 170.0% year over year.
170%.
It jumped from $60,000 to $162,000.
Yeah.
Now, to provide the necessary context,
Please do.
this explosive increase was based on only 3 closed sales in November 2024, spiking to 12 closed sales in November 2025.
Okay, so 12 sales drove a 170% boom.
12 sales.
So to the listener, this isn't a structural boom fueled by massive job growth. It's a statistical anomaly.
Exactly. 1 or 2 higher-priced recreational properties or luxury ranches closed that month, and it skewed the entire median price.
It demonstrates that in these low-volume areas, you absolutely cannot trust the year-over-year median as an indicator of your specific property's value.
And a similar, if less dramatic, story played out in Anderson County. Their MSP increased 47.9%.
Still huge.
Yeah, climbing from about $188,000 to $278,000. And that was driven by an increase from 4 closed sales to 9.
4 to 9.
Rains County and Comanche County also saw serious, unpredictable price jumps, up 33% and 32% respectively. These peripheral markets are just highly susceptible to individual high-value transactions.
But the volatility cuts both ways, doesn't it?
Oh, it does.
For every dramatic boom, there's an equal and opposite market plummet. And this often represents sellers in distress, or sellers who just severely misprice their homes in the face of zero demand.
The most extreme example of this was Franklin County. This county saw its median sales price plummet by a staggering 78.0%.
78%.
It fell from $635,500 down to $139,950. That is a fundamental repricing.
A 78% drop implies an absolute capitulation on the seller's part.
It does.
And it's important to remember this was on very low volume, 5 sales down to 3.
Right.
But it suggests that the sellers who needed to move were forced to drop their prices to almost distress levels just to attract one of those 3 buyers operating in that market.
That is the brutal reality of market illiquidity.
Wow.
Other painful corrections include Limestone County, which dropped 39.7% in median price, and Freestone County, down 31.6%. These deep cuts are the result of that standoff becoming a total market freeze.
High interest rates just choke off buyer traffic almost entirely, leaving only the deep discount hunters.
That's it.
And this volatility just underscores the importance of inventory being the true, reliable market indicator. Even as the regional month supply of inventory sits at a moderate 4.8 months, we have these little micro markets displaying hyper-competitive inventory levels that defy the macro trend.
Look at Taylor County as the definitive case study in how inventory overrides rates.
Okay.
Its month supply of inventory dropped a massive 42.9% year over year. That leaves only 2.0 month supply.
2 months. That is an incredibly intense seller's market. That's far tighter than Tarrant's 3.6 months.
And what was the predictable result of that intense scarcity?
Sales volume had to be up.
Closed sales volume in Taylor County was up 9.8% year over year. The need for shelter and the scarcity of supply are just overriding macro concerns about interest rates.
Low inventory means high volume, even in a slowing economy.
We see other markets tightening aggressively, falling well below Tarrant County's already tight 3.6 months.
Like where?
Shackelford County saw its month supply drop by nearly 70%, down to 3.3 MOS. That suggests a rapid, intense shift toward a seller's advantage there.
Okay.
And Callahan County, though a little looser, is still tightening at 4.2 MOS, which is down over 37%.
Now let's look at the terrifying opposite end of the spectrum,
Okay.
where activity has essentially ceased. This is the ultimate warning sign that the standoff has become a total freeze. And this is often where high inventory meets zero transactional velocity.
Both Nolan County and Stevens County reported 0 closed sales in November 2025.
0.
A 100% drop in volume year over year.
Yeah.
0 transactions. That means the price expectation gap was infinite. Sellers were simply unwilling to meet the price required by the only buyers who could transact.
And we also see this total lack of liquidity in specific high inventory pockets, particularly in some of the northern suburbs.
Yes.
Our data shows Colleyville sitting at an eye-watering 28.0 months supply of inventory.
28 months.
Corinth is at 20.0 months supply, and Cleburne is also at 20.0 months supply.
28 months of supply. That is nearly 2.5 years it would take to sell all the currently active listings at the current pace of sales.
That doesn't mean the market is literally dead, but
But it signals massive oversupply relative to transaction volume.
think about the psychology of the seller in Colleyville. They're competing with 27 months of future listings.
Right.
If they need to sell, they're going to have to make major price concessions to get to the front of that line. This level of oversupply is where that standoff we talked about. The friction between seller expectation and buyer reality becomes overwhelmingly painful for the seller.
The data on these peripheral counties and these localized inventory pockets just underscores the primary mandate for anyone engaging with the North Texas market.
Which is?
Regional averages are a starting point, but the true leverage, or the true risk, lies in the specific month supply of inventory for your subdivision. You cannot transact safely without knowing that hyperlocal number.
Okay, let's synthesize this crucial knowledge for you. What are the definitive insights we have pulled from the November 2025 Intrias data?
The overall North Texas market is slowing down. That confirms the soft patch narrative,
Right.
and it's a healthy correction. It's evidenced by that regional median price drop of 5.4% and the resulting 11.5% improvement in the Housing Affordability Index.
Which is slowly creating space for buyers.
Absolutely.
But the real story of the month is Tarrant County. It is proving its structural resilience by absorbing this economic shock better than its higher-priced neighbors like Collin and Denton.
And it achieved this stability by maintaining persistently tight inventory. That 3.6 months of supply sustained a faster sales pace of 56 days on market.
We also learned that the market is bifurcating, and dramatically so. Outside the major hubs, the price changes are wildly volatile. They're often statistical anomalies based on just a few transactions.
And the only constant, the only reliable predictor of success is that hyperlocal supply metric.
Right.
Whether your market is booming or freezing is dictated almost entirely by your inventory level.
So, ultimately, while the national narrative focuses on interest rates, and rates are clearly responsible for the initial slowdown in volume, the data proves that for buyers and sellers here in North Texas, the most critical factor is the hyperlocal month supply of inventory.
If your neighborhood is operating on a 2.0-month sprint, like Taylor County, you are essentially still in a seller's market where value resilience is robust. But if your specific area is looking at a 12-month or even a 28-month slog, like Colleyville, you must be prepared for extreme competition, deep discounts, or maybe zero transactional activity.
So here is our final provocative thought for you to chew on. North Texas is currently surviving this rate shock because inventory scarcity is acting as a natural brake on price declines. If this soft patch persists into 2026 and financial pressures finally compel more homeowners to list their property, even those locked into those low rates, what is the tipping point? Where does inventory normalize back toward that 6-month balance mark?
That normalization is the single greatest risk factor that could transition Tarrant County from resilient to correctional. Watch the months of supply, not the median price, because that supply dynamic is the leverage point that will determine the direction of the North Texas market next year.
That's all for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time with more crucial data.